you. Hannah and Liz, give it up for the daily fare. Oh, that's right. I'm not supposed to sit here.
Thank you. In case you need to.
We're already off to a great start.
But before we start, we have to, of course, welcome the granddaddy of all podcasts, Kevin Batchelder from Tales of the Black Badge.
Thank you. Thank you.
He has been like our godfather, as I like to say. He's been our beacon, and so because of that, I, Kevin, have brought you Wisconsin socks.
Oh, why?
And an oak pin, just from Appleton for you.
Fantastic.
And thanks.
I am official.
Yes, you're official. I have some cheese for you upstairs too.
Oh, perfect.
All the way from West Dallas.
All right, I have to do the intro.
Oh.
You ready?
Yes.
Hi, and welcome to Wynaught, a Wynonna Earp fangirl podcast, live from Earp-a-palooza! Hey, Casey.
Hi, Ann.
What are all these people doing in my garage right now?
No, it was weird because you're not just on a screen in front of me, and I only have a shirt on and no pants.
Wait, she doesn't have pants on.
Holy crap, are you guys having so much fun?
Well, thank you for coming.
Yes.
We expected 11 of you to come.
I'm glad all 11 of you are here. Thank
If you're
you
listening
so
to this
much.
at home later, there are thousands of people here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the eye can see.
Absolutely.
So what are we going to do?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
Well, we've been Earping it up really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, how has your weekend been?
Fantastic. We're with Earpers. Can't get better than this, right?
Kevin's always positive. He's not going to be like, well, this Earp-a-palooza really fucking sucks. I have not met anyone nice, and I'm just going to probably go home after this. No, Kevin's always a beacon of positivity.
Well, right off the bat, I was starting to list some things last night. You know, as a professional, you prep at 11 o'clock at night after you've been Earping all day and imbibing in some libations. And I was like, there were a lot of things that I didn't expect to happen. So I was gonna touch on some of those things.
Can I just point out something
Oh,
first?
here we go.
We've never prepped for a show.
Maybe we haven't, but I have prepped.
I don't know
Speak
that
for
it's been
yourself.
obvious or not, but I show up 10 minutes late, religiously, with my hair wet or in my pajamas. No, go on.
There's
sorry.
no lie there. Right off the bat, I was not expecting this one to go from, who's going to go to a con? I don't want to go to a con with you. What are you going to cosplay? To this performance last night. Kevin, did you expect that?
No. Yeah. I was like,
Right, yeah. I can't say that I expected it, but then I ordered everything off of Amazon, and I thought, well, no going back now. So I'm going to get my money's worth.
So dedicated that one of the items was wrong. She had Amazon ship it. She reordered, had it shipped to the hotel, and it got here Saturday. So, some serious dedication. Did you own any of those things in that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I just only had to get the bangs. Yes, no, I didn't own any of it. Like, seriously, have you seen me in a leopard dress before?
It's been 11 years since I've seen you, Casey. I don't know what you wear.
11 years, can you believe
I know.
it?
That's
oh, my
been-
God.
so wonderful to hear when you folks talked about that on the podcast when you said how long it had been since you. And I thought, what a perfect place to do it. I mean, you know.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, I snuck in on Thursday night after about 45 hours of driving through rain and snow and stopping at every chocolate factory along the way. And I snuck into, we were all up in True and Jenny's room. They were all up in True and Jenny's room. So I knocked on the door and I'm like, hello. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, Casey. And then Ann's like, hey.
She had been messing with me all day long. First of all, she didn't even tell me when she left. And then, of course, as soon as I get here, the first thing anyone asks me is, where's Casey? When's Casey coming here? Because she's the fan favorite. And I'm like, I don't even know where she is. So I'd get these like these coded messages from her, and she'd be like, I think I'm in Missouri. I think maybe I'm in Memphis. Is Memphis on the way? And I'm like, no, where are you going? And then I'm like, I think she's messing with me. This is like classic Casey.
An audio book, and all of a sudden
It must have been a good book.
What?
It must have been a good book.
It was a really good book. If anyone's looking for one, it's called Finding Tamara.
What is
Tamika.
Finding Tamika?
Yeah. But I have to tell you, because you have been preparing us for like how to feel and how to, it's going to be overwhelming and meeting all the people, and you've been so kind at like letting us know, right, what it's going to be like for our first con. And I walked into that room, in True and Jenny's room, with all of our 11 in there, and I was like, oh my God, Kevin was right about everything. I was so overwhelmed, like seeing my friends who I've gotten to know over Twitter. Like I wasn't even a part of Twitter before she made me. And then getting to know them over Twitter and Discord and everything, and over the podcast, and you guys like writing in and calling and all of these things, and then to actually be physically with these beautifully amazing people and being able to hug them, and like I'm sure that you've all felt this way this weekend. It's been overwhelming and wonderful and beautiful and simply like the best feeling, especially coming off of crappy COVID. But then she was like, oh, it's fine.
She's the emotional one. I usually keep it.
I don't know if you've ever
stuffed
gotten
way down.
that from the podcast, but I might be the emotional one. Maybe a little. Me and Kevin.
Kevin, what was it like coming back after being away for so long?
Oh, wow. It's one of those things I think in life, until you've been to something, you talk about the first time coming. Like, show of hands, how many of you, this is your first ERP-Con? Fantastic. I mean, literally 99% of the audience. So, but when you're going to something for the first time, you think you have an idea what it is. You hope it's as good as some people have told you, and things like that. But now, I couldn't talk much about this with certainly this crowd before now. Now that you've all been here, imagine if, because of what happens in the world, you can't do it again for 2.5 years. And then, so coming in, I had myself going, okay, I'm probably going to be a little emotional. It's me, and so forth. But just walking in Thursday night to see all of you and other Earpers just in the lobby before anything had started, I had to go away for a few minutes because it was so overwhelming that it's actually happening. I'm going to get to be around Earpers again. It's real, I just look at the little hair standing. It was just exciting. It's exciting to be able to do it again.
Yeah, no doubt. I can't imagine. And this is my only con that I'm going to be going to, so I'm trying to soak everything in. I don't know if any of you are in that same space where it's like, I know I'm going to have FOMO.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I know I'm going to have FOMO when I'm like watching everybody else on Twitter doing all of the con things, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I was there, but I'm so grateful to have this experience. It's amazing. It's been so fun.
Yeah, and if anyone's new to the podcast, I was an Earper, and well, I still am. I haven't retired. And I had seen all of the episodes, and Casey and I did another podcast together, and soon that podcast just morphed into me talking about Wynaught Earp nonstop. And then I signed up for my first con, which was Earp Division Expo. And I was like, just come with me. It's in California. We'll have like a girls' weekend. It'll be great. And she made so much fun of me. And she was like, who even watches this show? Like 11 people? Like, what? The gun shoots red mints? She misheard the word revenants and thought I said red mints. And she was like, what are you like cosplay there? And then we see how it all turned out. So.
Don't hate me because of that.
No,
I didn't know
it's like
better.
your villain origin story, right?
It is,
You've
yeah.
redeemed yourself
Thank you.
in a grand way.
Okay, good, because Jesus, Lord, I'm really a kind person. I just thought it was weird. And then she's forgetting part of the story where I'm like, what am I going to do? Just schlep behind you and carry all your stuff? Guess what I've been doing? Just schlepping behind her this whole time.
I'm
She's
like, where are you now? Keep up.
And then I'm like, I remember why we broke up.
So Kevin tried to talk to me about something yesterday, and
that was great.
Do you want to tell that story?
Again, knowing how positively overwhelming the con is, but when you've got, as you folks all know now, the photo ops, autographs, the panels, talking to other Earpers. I had something that a project Ann and I are working on, after con, and I got some information I needed to share with her, and I ran into her in the hallway, and she's got this face just serious, and she's got her phone out, and she's doing something. I'm like, oh, I found out about the XYZ, and I wanted to tell you we need to look at that, and all I'm getting is a slow nod. And I can tell, whoosh, right over her head, because she is so focused on the photo op time, and I got to be in the line for this, and I've just stepped back, and then I had to giggle because it's like, yeah, now you know what it's like.
Yeah.
So he finds me this morning. He's like, now that you seem to be a little more focused about that thing I was talking about yesterday, I'm like, yeah, I don't remember what we were talking about. He's like, I could tell you were totally in the zone.
So part of our story, if you guys haven't seen the podcast or heard the podcast, is that not only did Ann, take me along on this journey, but we are ex-girlfriends. So Ann at one point lived in Milwaukee, and lo and behold, we lived together, even though she doesn't remember. And so this is our first time seeing each other after 11 years, and we are, sharing a room and everything, and we're up giggling like little schoolgirls and in the dorm room and everything, and I was ready for just like a great night of laughing and storytelling, and she's like, listen, I have this printout. We have to do this and this. You're going to have to look at this right now. So, and I'm like, but don't you want to talk about that one time? And she's like, no, we don't really have time to talk about that. So you're going to have to wake up at 6:05. I will wake you up. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, oh, yes, you are. I'm like, and this is why we broke up.
She's like, you're so bossy. I'm like, yeah, that's how we get things done around here. This is why we have a podcast, because one of us is a little bossy.
Whatever.
She loves me.
So I have to ask you, because you are a first-time con goer as well, and you have, really your experience with all of the Earpers and everything has been so amazing. I haven't even had a chance, to ask you, how are you?
Well, I have not had to take any Xanax, so you'll all be very happy to hear that.
I did. I took it all. So we're fine.
Thursday it's all been great. Thursday was so fun just to I took a red eye here, and I was like, do I take a nap? Do I just keep going? But I was having so much fun sitting in the lobby, just watching people slowly trickle in from all over, and checking my group chats and seeing who's where now, what airport are you, how far are you on your drive, that I couldn't just go to bed. So I just decided to power through it, and I said, go big or go to bed. Those were my two choices, and I decided to go big. So I ended up staying awake for over 24 hours. But that was just it was like a homecoming, and I've never even been here before, but it was just seeing these people, and then also seeing people that, for the first time, that you've never met before. So you're hugging, and you're seeing that they actually have legs, because you've never seen their legs before. But it's also weird too, because I'm but I know you, but I I've seen you, but I've never seen you. It's tripping me out so bad that like the people in my computer are like bodies here now. It's weird. And I keep hugging Kevin every time I see him because it's like, I know I won't get to for a while, and this is the first time we've met Kevin, even though we've had him on our podcast, and he and I have started another podcast together. So it's just weird that like all this time has passed, but yet hasn't passed. I get real trippy if I think about it too much.
So how are you guys? One of our Redmond's cat kept looking at me yesterday going, how is this real? No, really, how is this real? And I'm thinking, does she really want me to answer that? I mean, I don't know how it's real. Oh, we're all here.
So Kevin, first of all, I didn't take any of the advice anyone gave me. I did a special podcast about what you should do at a convention with all the OGs, and they gave us great advice that I should have taken. Because I drank too much and not enough. Like, I drank too much of some things and, like, didn't drink enough of the water. So I got back into the room at, like, 1 o'clock, and I was like, this is the first bottle of water I've had all day. Please make me drink this. And I don't think I've seen any green vegetables since I've been here. So that's going to be fun on
But if you
the
want to
next
hear a
week.
really good egg sandwich story, I'll save that for the next podcast.
Yeah, we have plenty of content to get us through a while. But yeah, it's been crazy fun.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
good, I'm
just
so glad.
like I don't want to go home. I did way too much. I bit off way more than I could chew. So I won't do that again.
And you're going to ACON.
I'm going to all the
New
cons,
Orleans
I'm doing all the things. So I think I'm going to pace myself a little better.
Yeah.
But I'm getting mixed results because people have said, no, you're doing it. I'm like, I think I did it wrong. I did all of the things. And then so many people are like, no, that's what you're supposed to do at your first convention. You're supposed to do all the things. You're supposed to be totally overwhelmed. And then the next few times you're like, okay, I'll just do this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I am worried about you.
why? I'm great. I'm doing fine. When I stop, then that'll be another. I just keep going.
You're going to just pass out dead.
Kevin, so you've been to a million conventions. Do you still sign up for the meet and greets and stuff like that? Or what's your plan of attack for conventions now?
Well, for this one, I mean, again, being blessed to have attended many, I could kind of think ahead a little bit. And knowing there were going to be a lot of new ARPers, all of you, new faces, podcast listeners, new and old, and having been blessed in previous cons to have done the meet and greets and the photo ops, multiple times. To myself, I said, I'm going to kind of make this one, and I've mentioned it to a few of you who I've talked to. For me, I'm going to make it Wander Con. I'm just going to wander around the lines, the rooms, the lobby, the bar area, because I want to see Earpers again. I want to have a quick chat. Doesn't need to be a deep conversation if we don't want to. So I've done very little other than attend the panels. Had some quick chats with a couple of the cast members I ran into, but I haven't been really doing a lot for this one. I wanted to just kind of let it flow over me, and really appreciate and enjoy it for that. And it's been very emotional multiple times. Sometimes for no reason, it just hits me, and sometimes for great stories someone is sharing. So, and getting a chance to meet folks, the two of you and many other folks from podcasts and online events. That in itself has just been so wonderful, trying to remember some of these interactions for when we all have to deal with the real world. And it's nowhere near this much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing, a quick story that kind of reinforces the Ann go, go, go approach. I had mentioned to Ann when approximately I was going to be landing on Thursday. So literally, as you all know, when the plane lands and they say, okay, you can turn your cell phones on, I turn it on and I get a text from her like 10 seconds later. Are you here yet? And I'm like, yes, actually, wheels down, just landed. Not 10 minutes later, we hadn't even got to the actual demarking point. Are you here yet? Are you in the hotel? Are you in the lobby? I'm like, oh, she's already keyed up, man. Because they've lost all track of time if you think I'm already at the hotel.
But it's taking him so long.
Yeah, imagine being in a
But I'm like,
car.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, I knew that as a newer Earper the first time at con, a lot of folks love to go I'm going to fill every second of every day with something to do. And if you can do it, more power to you. Go for it. Especially if, like Casey, you're not going to be able to go to multiple cons. But I also see by mid-afternoon Saturday, and certainly by today, the glossy-eyed look of where am I? Who am I? Because you've been doing nothing but go without eating properly or sleeping enough. So I can't do it at that pace anymore, but if anyone else can, you do you. That's one of the lovely things about the con. And it was the same thing this morning. How many of you, show of hands, were at that cast panel? Yeah, most of you. Okay, did you expect to be crying your eyes out at 9 a.m. on a Sunday? How's that to start a day? Okay, so I had an idea that might be coming, but even for me, this doesn't happen in the real world. I mean, I hope we all appreciate that. All respect to other conventions, general or show specific, man, this is unique.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think we all know about, I know that Ann and I have talked about it, and Kevin has talked about it, that whole thing of where you feel like this is family, and a lot of it is because when you go to your actual family and you're like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to Columbus. I'm going to dress up like this girl in a leopard dress and with a big old belt, and we're going to all see panels, and we're going to hug, and it's going to be amazing, or else kumbaya, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, okay, since when have you been so weird? And I've been like, all my life, but you haven't been paying attention because I'm the youngest, but we won't go there on this one. So that's why it feels like you come into this space and you're with family.
It is. It's instant family. It's just best friends. You just haven't met them in person yet. That's all.
Right.
Really, and that's impossible. The same way when I try to say that to any family folks.
Yeah.
It just, even after many years of doing the cons with family or friends, yeah. I'm gonna lip sync like a virgin and dress play as Madonna. Yeah. Sure, I do that all the time. Yeah, that's just the usual Saturday. Sure it is. Sure
Is
it is.
That might be fun. Kevin was all gung-ho about the juggling.
The juggling.
Yeah, the juggling, that was weird. Don't do that. All the juggling, and we were so excited for Kevin. We're like, for sure he's going to kick ass, la, la, la. And it's going to be awesome. And then we're in the audience, Kevin. And then all of a sudden, you were the first one out.
First one out. Yep, first one out. It was not part of the plan, but you go with the flow, because I had some talented people join me to do that.
Yeah, I was blown away by the talent of those jugglers. And then Rach from Late Night at the Homestead, woo! She had this funny line that I kept repeating in my head the whole time when they were talking about, on your podcast, you were talking about something that you do, like at parties or whatever, what your special talent is. And Rach is like, well, when I'm at parties and it's a little slow, I just like to say, got any apples? And she juggles them. So we had big hopes for Rach too, but you were second out. Maybe the next come.
I lost a lot of money. There was some side betting, and my money was all in on Kevin, and I have to start a GoFundMe to get home.
Yeah. Got any apples?
But yeah, and last night was so fun too, because I hadn't, we talk about meeting these people for the first time, and I was sitting there in the back during the talent show, which, I mean, the talent last night, come on.
Amazing.
How talented are Earpers? I mean, we've seen the art and all that stuff, but to see the physical performances is so fun. And just what a, like wholesome, embracing group, too. Like cheering everyone on, and people are nervous, and it doesn't matter because everyone's got you. But I was in the back, and I'm talking with two of my other friends, and all of a sudden, Kayla, I know your name, Kayla. You're probably not here, but I know I accidentally called you Lindsay, but I know you're Kayla. I've called a lot of people the wrong name this weekend.
Obviously very bad about this.
I feel so bad. It's so embarrassing. I know who Kayla is. And she'll never let me live it down. But she leans over, and she just takes this picture of us, and she's like, I just got a picture of your chat group in person. So she's like, it was weird because I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, we have this chat group with the three of us. And she's like, I just got a candid photo of your chat group in real life happening. You're like chatting in real life with your chat group. And I was like, that's so meta. Wow. There was no smoking, if anything, I swear.
Yeah, right. All right. We talk. I just want to side note. I just have to have a conversation here. We talk about how
You have to be in your microphone. This is not. I can't edit this. You can't turn up your sound later on.
I don't know what the thing. So we talk about how you're meeting people.
You're just gonna turn your back to Kevin like that?
Yeah, well,
so rude.
We have talked about how we're meeting people over Twitter, and then we meet people in real life.
Right?
Does that sound familiar?
Oh, yeah, that's how we met.
I mean, honestly,
That's
you
weird.
forget things so easy.
It's been a long time.
We met over LiveJournal. That ages us.
That's how geeky we
Yeah,
are.
every time you talk about that, I'm like, does she even remember that we dated and we left?
And then she was like, I can't believe we not only did one podcast, but then we're doing a second one. She's like, I forget how much of our lives we tell on the podcast because we're just talking to each other and we forget. Even though I edit it and hear it later, some stuff obviously comes out, but she's like, people will come up to us and say things, and I'm like, when did I tell you that? And I was like, oh yeah, I told everyone that. But then she was like, I guess it's no different from when we used to online journal our lives in an open forum for everyone to see. Who does that?
I mean, that is no. We're not dropping. I can't even.
I was like, and then we were having a conversation one day, and I was like, where were our parents? Why didn't they stop us? And she's like, we were adults. It's like, oh yeah, I was in my 20s. Oh my God.
So cringy. God. But then we think about podcasting too, and I do say too much. I say too much. You gotta stop me.
I do, but sometimes you don't stop.
And then I realized when we got here, I'm like, I see our beautiful, handsome Lee, and Lee does editing for these little clips that we have, like on Twitter and stuff like that, of different things that we do. And I'm like, Anne, has Lee seen everything that I have said? Because then they know everything. No, Lee has not fessed up to anything, thank you.
What other things have been going on during the convention, Kevin? Like anything, crazy, like things that blew you away, super emotional moments. If you need to cry, she gave you those socks. You can just dab with that.
Well, all the general emotions, certainly. I mean, some of these panels with the cast, that's going to start it going. And I got to thank all of you, because as I say, being WonderCon for me, and especially with the cool setup where the mezzanine lets you see the folks doing the photo ops and the autographs, I love to watch folks who I can tell it's their first time meeting fill in the blank, because you can just see it on their face. You can see the exchange when they get the autograph, the photo, and it just brings back so many memories for me. Me doing it, but also seeing other people do it. Great experience with Tay from Late Night at the Homestead, getting to meet Kat, and just watching that. I mean, that means I get to experience it again and again and again, and that is just so wonderful because this is all just such a amazing experience for all of us. I was just telling them backstage, I had a first for me at an Earp-con yesterday. On 2 occasions, having done the podcast for many years, folks, will ask to say hello or sometimes want to take a selfie, which is wonderful, an occasional autograph, and hear stories of how the podcast and our interviews and all have helped them to get more out of the Earp experience. So I'm actually used to doing that. It's still weird as hell. But it's very cool, but I'm kind of used to it. Yesterday, for the first time, and it happened twice, I had 2 different Earpers ask me to sign something that Anna Silk had already signed. They wanted to have both Kevins on that. And I got to tell you, if anybody saw it, it happened outside the first time, the autograph room, And I got down on a knee because they gave me the photo and all the sign, partly to make it a little easier to write, and partly because my knees were buckling. I could not believe that someone wanted my name with. I'm like, you want me to deface this beautiful photo? I mean, and that had never happened at a con before to me. But that's just why the experience, you never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. And we're talking about unexpected things. You never know what's going to happen. Like Tamara Duarte could just come on stage right now. You just never know.
Look at you, beautiful. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Oh, you look so gorgeous.
Great to see you again.
All the hugs. Guys, I miss hugging people.
No doubt, right?
Come sit, join our shit show.
How's it been?
It's, with what?
Everything,
like-
tell us everything.
I know, right? Like, what are we
The
talking
grocery
about
store when you
here?
were there last Friday and you saw that cheese on sale and you're like, oh my God, look at the cheese. But
Yeah,
no,
that cheese is great. Like, yeah, good sale because everything's so expensive these days that like you gotta have a cheese that's on sale.
Right.
What is it like coming back after like not being in person conventions for a while?
It's the best feeling in the world. Just being able to see people in person, and I just am overwhelmed. Like it's so nice.
Yeah.
And then when people take off their masks, I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
I can see your face. Because we haven't, in Canada, they just lifted the mandate. So I haven't seen faces in a very long time.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Or even like the power of a hug. You haven't been physically been able to like.
I've been hugging a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Do you feel like
They're like, can I?
like
Like,
your
yes, you
shoulders
can.
maybe like you haven't worked them out enough during the pandemic and
Right.
Yes.
they might be getting sore?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, but she did play Rosita on a little show called Wynaught Earp, and I have a question. So we have been. I don't know if you are familiar with our podcast, but we watched episode by episode. I didn't know what was happening, and then your hot face showed up on the screen.
My what?
And
My what? My
her beautiful face showed up on the screen, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I have been a little bit obsessed with following, right away, following your character through the seasons and whatnot. And I have a question for you about the very last time you were on Wynaught Earp, and Rosita was on Wynaught Earp.
Mm-hmm.
You were with some nuns, and
Casey's also obsessed with
I'm also
nuns.
obsessed with nuns. And I thought to myself, I wonder where Rosita would be if and when a 5th season would come back. What would you be doing in the convent?
Training. Lots of training.
Training in prayer?
If you want to call it prayer.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to call it that, you can call it that. I called P-U-S-S-Y something very different. We have names for different things here. Prayer. I would be training them in prayer.
She's
Getting to
bringing
know-
prayer back.
Yeah, getting to know themselves very intimately.
That's all I dreamed
That's what I would be doing.
Okay.
All day long.
So
There's probably a
It's a
lot
dream.
of coconut oil.
that could have been an answer.
Yeah.
maybe.
I really use coconut oil for everything. I do. Actually, one of the questions was, it's a healing property. And I was like, it's an antiseptic. And it is. And I use it on, way too much, like TMI, but it's like I use baby butt cream, like rash cream.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best. It's the only thing I use on the baby's butts. And I'm like, okay, it's an antiseptic, like it could be used for healing. And I fucking didn't say it. I didn't say it, and I was so angry. I was like, oh, see,
I didn't even think about that, like
Yeah.
a baby butt cream.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
I wish I would have known.
Yeah,
didn't
it's an
know?
antiseptic.
No, I didn't know.
Oh.
Like it has
I
healing
make my
properties in
own.
it.
You make your own coconut oil?
I make all kinds of things. Where have you been?
You make your own coconut oil?
No, not coconut. No, I make my own sunscreen with coconut oil.
Yes.
And I make my own like balms
Yes.
with coconut oil.
It's a good base.
Fun facts.
It's a good
balms
base.
with Anne. Yeah.
It's a good base.
Yeah. You can
Yeah.
make it's
I get it from like you can get a big one.
giant one.
Yeah.
Just saying, never run out.
It just gets melty and then it goes back. And
Yeah,
then it gets melty
exactly.
and then it goes back.
I have it in different parts of my house because I use it in the kitchen for stir fry. And then
Do you really use it for stir fry?
you can use it for stir fry. Yes.
I've never
But
done
then
that.
it tastes coconutty.
That's I like that.
Okay.
And there's this thing called coconut aminos. I don't know if you guys ever heard. Yes, it's like you can use it instead of soy sauce, and it's way less salty. It's so good for you. I love it. And I use it for baking.
Do you want to start a cooking with coconut oil podcast with me tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
please,
You heard it here first. It's a binding contract.
guys.
We met you in the VIP cocktail hour. And it was so funny because
I'm sorry. We should have had music.
Yes.
I would have been dancing on the table. So
Yes.
you missed out.
Yes. And so the podcast came up, and tomorrow I was like, I want to be on your podcast. And I thought you knew the whole time and that you were playing. I'm not calling you dumb, I'm just saying I thought you were playing dumb.
Sometimes.
And so I was like, maybe you will. And she's like, okay, what's the name of it? And then I'm like, wait, does she really not? She doesn't know. And then I'm like, is this happening? Is this not
It
happening?
wasn't in my schedule.
So I'm like, "Psst, do you? And she's like, I don't know anything. And I'm like, oh my God, Allison and Laura, you said.
I didn't. I had no idea. It wasn't in my schedule, so I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't know.
But so look, you
but I
manifested
played dumb
it.
really well.
No, you manifested it. You had no idea. You made it happen.
I think the next con, though, that you're at, we should have tables and there should be music.
So I can, and
So you can
tables,
dance on
music,
tables.
dance on tables.
Absolutely.
I'm down.
I'm pro that. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just
I
make
hope-
sure it's like super sturdy, because I don't
The
want
next con needs to have good insurance.
good insurance.
Good insurance.
Yeah.
So I have a question show related for you.
Okay.
That kiss in the hot tub. What?
I'm going back.
Okay. If you can visualize where you were at the time, was that cheating
100%.
for both of you?
No.
Only one of you was cheating?
That's a good question. Right? Because if you're single and you're with someone who's with someone, are you a cheater?
No, but weren't you with Doc? Oh, because you said I'm seeing Doc. Or I'm with Doc.
Was I though?
But you weren't exclusive? Oh, you're going to be like, we were on a break?
No, you know when someone else is always into someone else?
Yeah.
Like, he was always into Wynaught. So it's like, was he really with me in his heart?
Oh my goodness.
But yes, I guess, both of us were cheating. Yep. That's my final answer.
It's acceptable.
Yeah,
Acceptable.
both of us were. But I feel like in life, nothing's perfect. Like, shit fucking happens. And it's how you deal with that shows your character. Because we're human, and I think that was a really great storyline because people relate to it, because everyone's a fuck up. No one's perfect. No one's like... So I really liked although it really sucked to be the bad guy in that sense, but coming back from that and being like, fuck man, I fucked up, I'm sorry. And then learning from that, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they overcame it.
They overcame it, yeah. And forgiveness and redemption and all of that stuff in life.
And for everybody understanding that there's a, yeah.
I'm not saying you should cheat. I'm not, like, just because you can be forgiven doesn't mean you should do that.
But you also have to take into consideration that there was a hot tub, there was alcohol,
Champagne.
right? There was, yeah, I mean, there was like warm water. How could a kiss not happen?
Bikinis.
Right.
It's like,
Massages.
yeah.
Yeah. Now it could be a coconut relationship advice podcast.
Oh my God. Just doing it all.
Yeah, we're doing all of the podcasts tomorrow.
Yes.
What was it like for you tomorrow? I'm not asking Casey anything anymore. to be asked back for the story in season 4, because when I was looking back, I realized that your character is such like a huge part of the show, but really you were only in 10 episodes, and they were mostly in season 2 until the 1 episode in season 4. So you've had a huge impact, even though you were just
Crazy,
in those
right?
like a quarter of the show. What was it like coming back, being asked to come back for season 4?
I don't know if you guys know this, but I had 2 children in 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
That's fucked up. So for the 3rd season, I was way too pregnant to come back. And then complications, and I couldn't travel and all of that. I we really wanted to make it work, but it didn't. And then the 2nd season, I was pregnant again. I'm like, we need to make this happen fast, guys. Yeah, so coming back to the show was a dream. Yes, we can make this work. I will shrink the baby somehow. I don't know. What are we gonna do? But we made it happen sooner than later. And then there was this little thing called COVID that happened. And then they extended it, and then I was too pregnant.
Oh.
And that's kind of what happens with women.
But then you're a working mom.
Yeah, right? But coming back was so, like, I don't have words, guys. I don't have words to say how amazing it is to be on that set. Everyone is so gelled, and yeah, being back in Calgary, we went, like, off camera, we did a lot of fun things together, and it was scary because I didn't know if I was gonna get home because they were closing down airports and all that fun stuff. But yeah, coming back was like, and the storyline itself was like really cool. The jacket I wanted to steal. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
When Wynaught and Doc walked down that path, and I saw the rocks, and I saw the red dress, and you turned around, I was like, fucking Rosita. I wasn't the only one, right?
They
I
wrote
was
that,
like-
like they killed that. They killed, like, the scenery, the rock, everything just looked stunning.
Yeah.
No, they covered the bump really well with the big coat, and yeah.
So you did that fight scene pregnant.
3 months, yeah.
Wow.
3 months pregnant, yeah.
Nice.
I know. We were like in rehearsals, and I was like, you okay? Mel, I'm like, yeah, girl, let's just kick ass. It's all good. He can kick for me. Come on, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it wasn't as hard as people think it was, like to be that physically active, because I'm usually pretty physically active. So like it was okay to do. But yeah, there's certain things I didn't do and that she didn't feel comfortable doing to me because of that reason.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of hurts because I love doing that stuff. and I want to be my own stunt person all the time. But I had to, like, let go a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the podcast during that scene, I was like, my first thing was like, everyone was like, fuck, Rosita. And I was like, yeah. And then immediately when they started laying out the rock after rock, I'm like, this is going to take 45 years. What the hell is happening? I'm like, this cannot be the whole damn thing. Thank goodness it wasn't. Whew.
Yeah.
I have lots of unanswered questions about this whole show, and that was
Situation.
one. Yeah.
I mean, behind the scenes, that day, guys, was so fucking cold.
I can't even imagine.
I have never experienced that cold in my life, and I am Canadian. I lived in an igloo, like, my whole life, and that was like, I didn't even know what to do. We couldn't move our mouths.
Oh my God.
We couldn't, like, say our lines. At one point, I'm like, no, guys, I gotta warm up because my mouth is not even moving. It's so cold. And then there was this big gust that came in. It was like minus 40 Celsius, like something insane. I can't, like, yeah.
Okay, so tell me what it looks like behind. When we were going through the podcast, I couldn't look up anything, so I just have everything in my head. Like, what does it all look like? I mean, were there like little tents? How did you
Yeah,
keep
so what
warm?
they do is locations puts up tents for in between the scenes, and they have these amazing wardrobe people who wait with a coat, so that when you're done your scene, you can put your coat on top of the coat that's on top of the other coat.
Yeah.
And then in these tents, they have everyone huddles around this like heater.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's
Especially
pretty-
so many of the characters in those. Well, it was all freezing cold pretty much, till the end. But
Try wearing a mini skirt.
that's
and,
what I was just
a bra.
gonna say. I was just gonna say, like, the clothing, as attractive as it was very minimal.
Yeah.
And was there any kind of situation on set where anybody was hurt, or like it was just too much?
Like you're getting, like your arm's gonna fall off or something.
Like
Too cold.
skin.
No,
Like
yes, no. Like they're pretty good at trying to keep you warm in between scenes, and yeah, it's part of the job. And it's crazy because like sometimes you don't, like you're so in it that you're just like, you don't feel your body.
Oh, yeah.
Like you would in a normal situation. So you just do it, and then you get home and you're like, I just need a super scalding hot bath. Yeah, like in the bones. Yeah.
That's
But that day was just, and there was nothing around. I don't know if you guys saw that scene. It's very sparse.
Yeah.
So all the wind is coming in, like there's nothing protecting you, and you're on top of a rock, which makes it
Right.
worse. Like, yeah, I'm fine, guys. Let's just do this scene. It was intense. It was super intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved everything about that whole episode. It was so amazing.
And Mel was in like a leather coat. At least I was in a big wool coat, and then I had like hot shots everywhere inside, and I had a couple of layers. But she was in a leather coat and I think leather pants.
Yeah. Leather is not warm. No.
For cows.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What would you like to see for Rosita's story going forward? What would you like to see for her future?
What would I like to see for her future? I want her to be,
Training
I think
nuns.
she wants to be definitely like a part of the crew, like in it. Like more than anything else, I think it's like acceptance and like belonging and wanting so badly to just be like loved. I think that would be where she would feel the most settled, although she does love the nuns. But I think like a cool little like twist of her coming in and like kicking ass and helping would be, like being fully trusted would be very important for her. I don't know if that was going to work, but
You feel like the way she and Wynaught left things, there was like a good shot of, you kind of patched things up.
yeah, like trust. Like I think there was a good, like a start to building that and it being bigger and better. And I think that would be where I would like to see that go. Yeah.
Ann and I were having a conversation last night about it and how things could have turned out so differently, and your character would have been more of a and not very much, not cared for quite as much. If that whole relationship change didn't happen, we may not have you here with us today.
It's true. It's
No, it
true.
is,
Yeah. Like I'm just happy that the redemption and like I said before, you fuck up, you make mistakes, but what do you do when that happens? And I loved how beautifully written it was and how she came back from that, as opposed to just being like, you're a bad guy. And that's it. Yeah. Yeah. All of the things.
So what are you working on now? What have you been up to?
The worst question. No, it's a great question, but I was afraid of that one.
Were you? You don't have. You're among friends here.
I know, right? Guys, I'm taking a break.
Good for you. It doesn't have to be like this is
So
the,
liberating to say
No,
that.
like, but you're working on you, or
Yeah,
like you're
and
just.
my family. And
yeah.
it's like we've been through so as like all together. I was going to say another word. All together, we've all been through so much in the last 2 years, and kind of reevaluating what I find important and what's valuable in my life. Like, what do I need to do to make myself happy? And it was a really hard decision. But I did it, and who knows? Like in a year from now, or in 6 months from now, or tomorrow, I don't know. But I'm open to a lot of things. But like making that decision, being mindful of that, and being confident in that was that's what changed my life right now.
Yeah.
So working on the family, working on raising like 3 little human beings, and that's like. So much
sounds like a plenty of work.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
parenting during a pandemic we both have kids, and not easy at all.
No. And was it one of those decisions when you're dreading it? We've all had to make those decisions in our lives where you're constantly thinking about it. What am I going to do? How is this going to affect everybody? How
you
who
don't
am I
wanna
going to
let
let
anyone
down?
down.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you voice it, and it's like freedom. Not that you're not that you're putting something behind you that you didn't like, not that it was toxic or horrible or
No.
unhealthy. It's something that you loved.
That's the problem.
And that's the problem. But then
Yeah.
having that freedom of saying, I'm doing me, I'm doing my family,
Yeah.
I'm taking a break, and I know that you guys are all going to love me through it, and that's,
Yeah, that's the best part of it. It's
Right.
just like it's the fear, but then after being like, oh, I'm still supported through that. And I think as a woman in this industry, where like you could work until you're 75 now, and like you don't expire, and I love that. Like things are changing, and I think that's very liberating for me. And maybe I would have not made that decision if I was living 20 years ago in a different life and a different industry.
Yeah.
Same industry, but a different industry, So, I feel really good about that. And when I'm ready, I'll come back with a bang.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks.
And so what are some of the kind of things that you do that bring you joy?
I thought you were going to ask me a different question. Okay, I will go back to the other thing really quickly because I feel very liberated in saying no to things. And I didn't think I could do that. Like, I thought I had to say yes to everything. Because you're like, I'm afraid I'm never going to work. Or like, And then I finally said no. And I kept on saying no. And I'm like, holy fuck, I can say no. And then I reevaluated. I'm like, I looked at projects and I'm like, okay, do I want my kids to see this? Like, I don't want to play the sexy girl with a vibrator underneath the bed and her husband comes in. I'm like, no, I don't fucking want to do that. Like, I want to trailblaze. I want to make a difference. And these are the roles I want to take. And I want to represent this community. And this is what I want to do. And then I also want to do animation where I play like a Brazilian cow or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I want my kids to be proud of that. Like, I'm like, my mom was a cow on this show. It's so great. So animation would be yes. So there's that. I just had to put that out there.
No, tell us more about Brazilian cow
cows,
animation.
Well, they're great. Yeah, so I just, I think that's very liberating for me too, to so much has happened the last 2 years for everybody, right? So it's like the reevaluation of all that. I'm so thankful, although it was hell to go through all of it. Like,
No, but there were those aspects that really brought some value into, I think, most of our lives. I mean, the same thing happened for me too, where it was like, as a parent, there were so many things that I used to stress about, and I was like, okay, my priority right now is just keeping everyone alive in my house.
Mama, that's a huge thing.
That's like nobody getting COVID, everyone staying alive. That was like, I don't care if the dishes are washed right now. Like all these other things that used to eat away at me, I just reevaluated, and I was like, so you watched a little more TV or you were on the Xbox a little longer. Like, you're still alive.
Yeah.
Today's a good day.
And here's some fries.
Right? Here's some more chicken nuggets. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that blessing to it, and just like setting boundaries.
Do you guys
so healthy.
find that you're like, through the last 2 years, you've just become settled and just being present?
Yes.
And like how many beautiful things that you never noticed before? Like, because you're rushing through life. You guys can clap on it. No. But you rushing, like, da, da, da. And then like the world got super quiet. And you're like, what the fuck do I do with that? So you have to go in and do the work.
It's definitely been a blessing, and you have to look at it as a blessing.
It's beautiful.
I mean, we could be all still caught up into this crazy life that we were in 2 years ago. But backing up just one moment, I just want to thank you for being really candid about the experience that you had with coming to that decision to say no and being empowered to say no. And that, you know, for many of us, Wynaught Earp, seeing the strong females characters on screen and having that power, you know, like to make their own decisions, to do all this, and then hearing you say, you know, I've been empowered to say no when I need to say no. That means everything to so many women and people that are watching and listening and watching you and, you know, watching the other characters, that it has made such an impact. And I know that everybody's aware of it, but I hope that you're just genuinely aware of just how much that means.
You make me cry. Thank you.
It does, and it's like, you know, we fall in love with the characters first, but then we see each and every one of you as the human beings that you are, and we often say, you know, like what you see is what you get, and it's so empowering to be among people who like get it and are just great people.
Yeah, that's being in this room. It's just like, oh, this is real life. No, this is like, these are my people. Like, you guys get it. Like, sometimes I'm out there, and I was saying this in our meet and greet and stuff, and sometimes, like, I'm in a crazy world. Like, where are you, like, what's happening? And then I'm here, I'm like, oh, we're all very like-minded, and we're all, like, in the same place. Like, it's just, yeah, so it feels so good to be here. Yeah.
I'm glad that you said that. Thank you very much, because, you know, we look at our fandom and, you know, our community, our peeps, that, like, we have, we have that feeling of being just around like-minded folks, but, and we hear about it from the actors, but it's just a different feeling when you actually feel it, gosh, I hope you know that you are around your people.
Thank you.
Yes.
So now somebody say something obscene so we can lighten the mood.
Does anyone want to hear a story about some Oreos? No.
No. But no, that's something, that was one of the things when I was telling Casey, so we watched the whole show, and then the next thing you do is you start watching the panels, right? And you start to, that's where you start to learn about the people behind the show, and the writers and the actors, and because the show is the show, those are the characters, and then that's when you learn about the people. And crying on a panel was one of the first things that really drew me into the people, because I was like, that's okay. It's okay to feel things, just being free to cry in front of a whole bunch of people. It's that's something I struggle with, but it's seeing somebody else do it is there's something liberating about that, I think. And it's
just vulnerability.
Why should you be ashamed of it? It's if you're not feeling, there's a problem, So it's just
that was one of the things when we started doing the show, and in the beginning I was like, nobody's gonna go to a con, nobody does this, nobody's gonna watch the damn show, nobody's gonna listen to us, and then I'm not gonna go to a con and dress up and do all these things, and I'm not gonna cry like these people. And then today, literally this morning, I'm like, oh my god, I can't even breathe, what happened to me? I'm so sick. Just crying ridiculously.
Well, the show has changed my life. It's changed your life. It's and then coming back and seeing everybody, that's where you're like, oh, how has it been? I'm like, I don't have words to tell you how it's changed my life.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
This has been an honor. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Earp-a-palooza. Thank you so much, Tamara.
Thank you.